everyone, Chris here, and welcome to my channel. For today's 5 on Friday, I'm going to talk to you about 5 classics that I would like to read. So first up, I'm going to go with My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. So the reason I'm putting this on my list is I read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier and really liked it, and I want to see if it's kind of a one-hit wonder or if I will enjoy some of her other books. The description for My Cousin Rachel on Goodreads says, orphaned at an early age, Philip Ashley is raised by his benevolent older cousin, Ambrose. Resolutely single, Ambrose delights in Philip as his heir, a man who will love his grand home as much as he himself. But the cozy world the two construct is shattered when Ambrose sets off on a trip to Florence. There he falls in love and marries, and there he suddenly dies. Jealous of his marriage, racked by suspicion at the hints in Ambrose's letters, and grief-stricken by his death, Philip prepares to meet his cousin's widow with hatred in his heart. Despite himself, Philip is drawn to this beautiful, sophisticated, mysterious Rachel like a moth to the flame. And yet, might she have had a hand in Ambrose's death? So yeah, this sounds like it's going to be another mystery type novel, and I'm very curious to see what happened to Ambrose and whether his widow played a part in it. Next up, I'd like to read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So I feel like this is one of the more famous classics. I have never read it, and I've obviously heard a lot about Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet, and I have no idea what the story is, but I hear people mention both of those characters in various books I've read, or TV and movies I've consumed, or just general pop culture knowledge. So basically, the reason I want to read this is because I want to know the story behind Pride and Prejudice, because so many people have talked about it and so many people seem to love it that I wanted to check it out and see what all the fuss was about. Next up, I would like to read The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood by Howard Pyle. So the reason this book is on my list is because my favorite movie when I was a kid was the Disney version of Robin Hood. I absolutely adored that little cartoon fox, and I would watch that movie over and over again, to the point that to this day, my dad will get upset if I mention or hum the songs from the movies, because I listened to it so many times that they were literally embedded in his head, and it used to drive him nuts because he could not get the songs from that movie out of his head. I was literally one of those kids that would finish the movie, rewind the movie, because yes, I am old enough to have watched it on VHS, and started over from the beginning. And yet I've never read the classic novel. So because it's my favorite movie, I thought it would be interesting to see what the original story was and see how it compares to the Disney version I grew up on and the various other movies adaptations of it that I have seen throughout the years. Next up is Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. And the reason I want to read this one is because I read Olivia Twist by Laurie Langdon. And this is obviously an Oliver Twist retelling, and I really enjoyed this book. So I thought it would be interesting to read the source material because I've never read Oliver Twist, and then reread Olivia Twist and be able to compare and contrast the original version with the retelling and see what the similarities and differences are between the two books. So that is why Oliver Twist is a classic I would like to get to in the near future. And lastly, I'd like to read Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So the reason I want to read this book is I feel like of all of the classics I hear talked about on BookTube, this seems to be the most beloved. I have heard so many good things about this book, and I want to see what the hype is. I want to read about, I believe there are 4 sisters. I want to read about these 4 sisters and their lives and see why everybody loves this book and is so attached to these characters. Plus, there was a movie that was released not all that long ago, and I remember seeing the previews for the movie and being intrigued about the movie, but knowing I didn't want to watch the movie if I hadn't read the book. So I would really like to check this book out and see why everybody loves this book and if I love it for the same reasons. So those are 5 classics I would like to read. Are there any classics that you would like to read in the near future? Also, if you've read any of the 5 classics I mentioned, what did you think of them? If you've made it this far in the video, leave me a ghost emoji, like this video, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!